Okay, here we go. It's called I Know a Girl. So tell me, and let me know if you can't hear me, because I'll go back, okay? Can you hear me out there? Yeah. Awesome. I know a girl. Gorgeous. So tell me, why are you paying for it? It was a reasonable question to roll off the rapid tongue of the spectacular Argentinian poised next to me on the red vinyl couch. And the answers at my disposal were as varied as the naked women in fetish heels dangling off the international arms of chiseled or chubby men, the ones who once snagged, navigated their 30-minute girlfriends through the marble statues of Venus arched in a semicircle of faux love. Here at FKK Oasis, where FKK meant Freedom Body Movement, Venus shelled out 45 minutes of love, but only if you had the euro to cover the extra 15 with your chosen girl after the initial 30. And that had to be negotiated in German or English, but only behind the flap in one of the poolside tents, or the red and green stop and go signs on the doors, because Venus and her statuesque curves were too busy looking over the beer bellies floating face up in the pool. A fuck was 50, a French 50 more, and anal, 100 on top of that. That's what she said in German at the front desk after buzzing us through the tinted door. I fidgeted in my flat sandals like a bad girl whose teacher asks her parents if they have 5 minutes on a Friday at 3 p.m. German was a language I might never want to understand, unlike my backyard Spanish or butchered Italian. So I fixated on the split-screen TV of black and white scenes playing out behind those red and green signs on those closed doors, as if Dateline were disclosing lewd acts from their hidden cameras. The problem was that there were so many rooms that I couldn't zero in on just one piece of the action. So I peered left to the fabulous shoes teetering on bar stools and cocked my head toward the naked and tanned, anticipating an early catch right after entry. While the woman with the rules behind the desk darted back and forth between my boyfriend's wallet and my twirling hair. We passed the bodies, the black-lit bar, and the heels toward the locker room, of which there was only one. He turned around and said, I couldn't undercut the ladies. What do you mean? I whispered, trying not to step on the back of his heels as we chunneled. By the way, if you really want to blow your mind, look up chunneled in the Urban Dictionary. Through the narrow hallway. She said that if you do anything, you have to charge for a French. He spoke like the pro I knew he wasn't, and then he smiled. But I don't know what a French is. I think it's a blowjob. I don't know. We'll find out. When my boyfriend was either pissed or nervous, his German accent slurred into his English, and I usually tuned him out. But as a writer with a love affair for curiosity and an above minimum wage salary, his thoughts stuck in my mind. Well, I said, breaking the anticipation we both obviously felt, I am low on euro. Luckily, he laughed. I had initially come to Germany to meet his family, the new man in my life, who at first I only called lover, but now boyfriend, and perhaps once we crossed this new territory, future husband. But I came here to the Oasis because the scenes that played out in front of me were entirely legal, and the fact that it was a new travel experience. New experiences have become my lifeline to personal happiness, so much so that when I finally arrived at that hopeful place in my grief, after my boyfriend's suicide just 3 years before, I was eventually able to chalk that minor blip in my life plan up to new experience as well. So 8 months into my new lover, I sat, observed, first sheepishly from the reclined comfort of the holiday yellow hammock, then curiously from the hot tub while Iraqi men furrowed their brows and propositioned me over the bubbling jets whether I was for hire. And finally from the retractable lawn chair after a non-vegetarian worst-loving buffet in the hot August sun that even the hookers complained about. But before I sat in the chair here at FKK Oasis, the high-end brothel outside Frankfurt, just minutes from the back fields where my boyfriend had frolicked as a boy, I surfed their website in order to prepare. I don't know if it was the photos resembling the masquerade party in Kubrick's Eyes Wide Shut, or the woman I had imagined off the page in that trashy drugstore novel that gave me my first fantasies during study hall at 16. But something about FKK Oasis and my idea that it might give me the next best experience I possibly needed made me want to feel sexually empowered and stumble, preferably naked with my boyfriend, into a mirrored room with the Argentinian woman sitting next to me with her crossed legs over her shaved prize. I'm a slut for experience, I told her, on that red vinyl couch, drinking up her delicious smile while the rest walked out on the manicured lawn of last-minute love. She didn't know that no one talks about sexual healing or suicide, and definitely not the two of them together in the same sentence at any dinner party, or for that matter, a brothel. But I wanted to. I always had to, at least for months and then for some years, because I learned that was what was required to heal the myriad parts of my psyche, the parts that needed fixing after sleeping with someone who convinced me that it was my fault he couldn't get hard. When this happens to you for too long, parts of your body go dormant in order to balance out the mini-death, not the one they speak of in pleasure, but the one that lives in your lover's pain, his pain that eventually becomes your own. And a much deeper part of you dies when that partner you couldn't arouse dies himself. Your confidence, your libido, and any pipe dream of a thought that one day you might just open an orgasm with such unbridled abandon that you wet the sheets while bringing yourself to tears. And the best thing about those tears is not one drop represents your ex, or maybe one represents that which healed beyond him. But when I finally got there, I wanted to stretch and go further than I'd never gone before, to feel the slow rumble of my third orgasm I never knew was possible until I reached its peak. Then I broke open through my heart and my mind and my own mini-death, and I decided it was time to chalk another one up to experience, go further out past my edge, and get myself done. A lot. By men, and well, while we're in this town, why not by women? So at the 1-year mark past Bryce's suicide, I did exactly that. I used the sexual prowess I discovered at 16, and channeled it as a catalyst for my own healing, pleasure. And luckily my inner Foxy Brown was right there whispering, go on girl, heal that which was never ever meant to die the day he died himself. From cocoon to butterfly I expanded, took my internship at play parties where Burning Man intellectualized couples meditated on the menage a trois. I swung my feminine energy through my hips and into my pussy and unbuckled the chastity belt of grief that his death had cinched around me. I took the sweat from my red vinyl shorts at the costume sexual fair and peeled them off, joining the puppy piles of hot-bodied strangers in the back room. I performed better imagery than the legal bordella hoped to put into the craving minds of those Iraqi men at the pool. With each new theme of every play party, I prepared myself for that night in Germany by peeling back each delicate layer of my slow-blooming heart. Once I found love again with this new man who took the time to hold me and my grief-heavy tears that soaked his feather-light pillows, I decided it might be hot to come for him just minutes before he took a stack of euros and laid them in the soft hands of the woman we might share, the Argentinian. I like her, I said, pointing. My man, now naked to his awful brothel costume of resort yellow towel, which he tried to keep wrapped around his waist, shuffled his black plastic flip-flops over her way. The same flip-flops I had to ditch when he said so between hot tub soaks an hour before. Baby, I can't fuck you in those flippers. I wouldn't have fucked me either. And when I returned without the flippers, I walked taller, feeling just as for hire as the naked bodies and 4-inch platforms and jean skirts that hinted at a clit. And then 7 hours later, after the sun had set and the worst had wrinkled, I pointed, he fetched, and she smiled. Make out with her while I go get my wallet. He dropped into my ear. But I wasn't taking direction from any man, not now. What's your name, I said. I know a. As in, I know a girl who's about to go down on my boyfriend? Humor always took care of any of my nervousness. Or go down on you, she smiled. Because it was a guaranteed yes and a certain amount of money ruled out any maybes. Because I wanted to see if watching my boyfriend safely fuck a beautiful woman in my presence without any threat that he might leave that room with her instead of me could actually turn me on enough to delve deeper into my quest to heal and love and continue to let go. Because I could finally unleash a fantasy of being with a woman in front of a man who cherished me. Not because I was about to turn the sign from stop to go or from red to green and slam the door behind me, but because I arrived here. And 7 hours and almost 3 years later, I accomplished what I set out to do, to lead me back into the healed version of myself, the me I had missed. The curious, the excited, the sometimes slut who loved her sexuality, no matter where it led. The one who felt fully open to do whatever the next new experience might be.